So if I just had to pick one shoe and I had to pay the Australian recommended retail price, well, shoe comparison I got for you guys today, we got the Hoka Mach 6 up against the New Balance Rebel V4. So we'll go through their similarities, their differences and their key performance features, and hopefully from that, that's going to give you guys a great indication of choosing the right shoe for you. But before we get into it, massive shout out to my #1 running store, the Running Company at Geelong. I'll put a link to their website in my description, so make sure you go check out that and check out all their running gear. And also, if you want to support this channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Right, so checking out our quick specs here. Now what is jumping out to me is certainly that big price mismatch. So in Australia here, we're getting charged a lot more for the Mach than in comparison to what we are with the Rebel. So, but these two shoes in the US, same price point. So someone's got a lot of explaining to do there. So a bit of difference in the weight as well. Can you feel that? Well, yes, certainly can. So the Rebel does feel like the lighter shoe on the foot, and it doesn't feel like the more nimble shoe as well. Now stack heights as well. We got a taller stack here in the Mach. Can you feel that? Well, yes, when both shoes are on, the Mach certainly feels like the taller shoe. Now what is interesting here is when you look at the drops, the Rebel says it's got the higher drop than the Mach. However, when you put both these shoes on, it feels like the Hoka has the higher offset. So heel to toe difference. The Rebel actually feels like a very flat shoe, so almost zero drop for me. Right, and in our uppers here, so what they're using in the Mach 6, so they got a Creel Jacquard mesh. So this upper, it's sort of like it's definitely two layers to this upper. It's got like a plasticky, scratchy type material on the outside and sort of a more fabric mesh underneath. So this top layer is very similar to the Phantom fit that they use in the Rebel. But padding wise, we got a very generous amount of padding here, especially for such a lightweight shoe. So very, very generous amount of padding here. We've got a really structured heel counter. We've got a cool little Achilles flare there, and that really aids to the lockdown of this shoe. So the lockdown in this shoe, absolutely excellent. No issues with this. Really nice tongue here, so we've got a pretty much mesh tongue for most of the way up, and then it's finished off really nicely. Feels like this suede felt type material at the top. Fully gusseted tongue, and it's cut nicely, so it sits nicely on top of the foot. We got a pretty standard lacing system that you see from Hoka there, but that's effective. As I said before, the lockdown in this shoe is excellent. Now fit-wise, Hoka is a narrow fit in general, and this is no different. So I will say length is true to size, the fit is narrow. So this shoe does come in a wide fit, so if you've got a wide foot, make sure you go the wide version. If you can't get that, you can come half a size up. It's exactly what I've done in this shoe, and this one fits me fine now. Now in our Rebel, so upper that they use, it's called the Phantom fit, but it's certainly a thinner material than what they use in the Hoka, but more of a single layer. But the outer material feels very similar to this material. So it's like a scratchy, plasticky type material, but the breathability is excellent. It's feather light, this shoe. Yeah, padding wise, a lot less padding in this shoe around the heel collar. So it's pretty minimal. We don't have a heel flare or anything like that. We've got a pretty solid heel counter as well, so certainly down the bottom, a little bit of flex at the top. Now our tongue, so we've got a gusseted tongue just like this one. However, it's not meshed or anything like that. They've just got a, it's a bit of a, I'm not sure what material it is. It's like just a nylon type material that's got a few holes punched in it. But it's not, as you can see, the build quality in both these shoes is certainly very different. It's certainly really nicely finished off in the Hoka. And it's probably, the build quality is certainly at a lesser standard than what it is in this shoe. But again, the tongue is cut nicely. It sits nicely on top of the foot. Very standard lacing system here. No issues with that. Now the lockdown in this shoe is okay, but you need to play around with it a little more than this shoe. So this shoe is very easy to get a good lockdown, and this shoe, so you do get some heel slippage if you just try to tie up and go, well, I know I do, because there's just not enough padding, I think, around the heel collar, or there's not enough padding in the right spots, or they don't really have a heel flare or anything to curve in and lock this heel in. So, but you can get a good lockdown in it, but you just got to play around a little bit with the shoe. Now the fit in this shoe is certainly in the lengthwise true to size, and in the width it's a very voluminous and a wide toe box, so it's really nice. You don't need to upsize or anything with that, and you can actually see there's so much material and so much volume in the toe box of this shoe. It actually causes some scrunching there in the toe box. It actually looks a bit messy. It doesn't actually perform, it doesn't actually affect the performance or rub on your foot at all. Right, and in our outsoles here, so in the Hoka, we've got a good amount of rubber coverage here. So this is very new on the Mach series. They've usually just had that EVA foam, that rubberized EVA foam on the bottom. Now they've actually got some rubber just to add to the durability of the shoe. But yeah, really nice amount of coverage on it here. So almost the entire shoe is covered. We've got a little bit of exposed foam there. Yeah, it's actually quite sticky, this outsole. I really enjoy it. It's okay in the wet, so I ran on some wet roads with this. It's not crazy grippy, so it's not, there was a little bit of slip there, but it could be a lot worse, that's for sure. Now, what I also do love about the outsole of this shoe, they've got this nice slit all the way up the middle of the shoe, and that obviously helps this midsole splay out when you hit the ground. That's obviously going to add to a little bit of cushion when you strike the road. So when you hit the road, it's going to feel nice and soft. It's going to aid that pop as well. It's also going to give the shoe a little bit of stability because this midsole is just going to splay out a little bit fatter. So yeah, really nice outsole here in the Mach. And in our Rebel here, so yeah, again, good amount of rubber coverage here. So pretty much all the entire forefoot and the high wear areas at the back. Now they've got an interesting tread pattern that they've got going here. They've got all these tiny little diamonds all throughout the shoe. Now this rubber compound as well is quite soft. It's certainly it's just as soft as this one as well. So you'd expect it to wear down quite quickly, but it's actually performing quite well. So durability is actually holding up a lot better than what I thought it was. So it's obviously could be better, but you don't want to have it so harsh and so stiff that it's going to make your ride slappy. So really like the outsole rubber, what they've done here. Now what is excellent with this shoe is the grip. So this is one of the best grips on the market. This has been tested on the gravel, the wet, and the dry, and on a wet, greasy road, this thing does not falter. So this grip is excellent in all conditions. So it can definitely handle the wet, this outsole. And in our midsole, so in the Mach 6, they use a supercritical EVA. So it's just one big slab of that, no other things mixed in with it. So there's no plate within this shoe. So stiffness-wise, it's still a stiff shoe. So it's actually stiffer than some shoes out there with plates in it. So surprisingly, the stiffness of this shoe, a little bit of play left and right, but yeah, very stiff that way. You can bend it, but I'm putting lots and lots of force in it. But it's got a good little flex point there, just under, sort of under where the toes bend as well. So really nice. Yeah, very stiff shoe. And in our Rebel V4, so what they use here, obviously their fuel cell. Now they've got a PEBA blend, so PEBA blended with EVA, I think it's 20% PEBA. So this, again, just a full slab. There's nothing mixed in with it. There's no other foam in with it, just a full slab. There's no plate in this shoe. So rigidity-wise, this is quite a flexible shoe. As you can see there, lots of snap back, but yeah, it's very easy to bend, a lot more easy to bend than this shoe. Geometry-wise, as I said, as you can see the geometry here, we've got lots of curvature here, so a bit of a toe spring, a bit of a forefoot rocker. However, it's not that noticeable when you run. It feels quite natural. Again, both these shoes they do have forefoot rockers slightly, as you can see there, but none of them feel overly aggressive like you're going to tip forward. They both feel quite natural. And in our ride, so in the Mach 6, so this is nice and soft, very nice and soft through the heel. I like how this midsole is carved, and it just really takes the impact out of the road. But it's not super pillowy soft or squishy. It's just right, and it's got a good amount of rebound. So there's a nice amount of pop. There's a bit of liveliness here. Yeah, the energy return is nice. It's, yeah, good amount of spring. So it's not a super responsive spring back like you would expect in FF Turbo or Power Run PB. It doesn't have that spring back, but it's sort of like the next level down. So it's a really nice cushioned softness that you get, and probably a medium amount of bounce. So Very, very nice ride here. Certainly up through the forefoot. So when you start putting some pace in it, it does get quite lively, and there is a good amount of pop through through this forefoot here. Yeah, and nice and soft through the heel, as I said before. And in the Rebel V4, so now this is also a soft ride. So I think it's slightly softer than what you're going to get in the Mach. So this foam definitely feels softer, but in the ride, it's got a lower stack, but it does feel a tad softer as you're running in it as well. But yeah, this one, there's not a whole lot of energy return or pop or bounce in this shoe. So this one, it certainly feels like the more bouncy, more lively shoe. But this one just feels like the more natural shoe. So because it's so flexible, it just feels really natural to run in, and because it's the lighter shoe, it virtually feels like that you have got nothing on your feet, and it just feels really, really natural to run in. You can just tick your legs over really, really fast. It feels more responsive. Even though it's a softer shoe, it certainly feels like you can go faster in this shoe. You can tick your legs over in this shoe because it sort of just feels so natural. So like when you run barefoot, and just how fast you feel. Whereas in the Mach, you sort of can feel like you've got a shoe on your foot. Yeah, this one's certainly got more, it's certainly the safer ride. You certainly feel a bit more secure in this ride. This one's a little bit more wild. You just feel a little bit more free. Right, so best shoes. So for me, this one is sitting more in the daily trainer category compared to the Rebel. So for me, this is your easy days, your daily miles, certainly your tempo runs and long runs. So there's enough midsole foam here to really, really handle those long runs. So nice and light, it's got a good amount of bounce. So I think that's where this shoe is singing for me. Those those long runs where you can pick the pace up at the end. So really, really nice here. Can you race in this shoe? Yeah, you probably can, but I don't know why you would pick a shoe like this over a carbon-plated shoe, unless you really don't like carbon-plated shoes. Now, in our Rebel, this shoe, very versatile shoe. However, it's not the best at everything. It can pretty much do everything, but there's always better options in each category. So you can use this for your daily miles, certainly your steady runs, your tempo runs. Can you use it for a long run? Yeah, you probably could, but there's not that much foam underneath, so you may start bottoming out this foam certainly more quickly than what you will in this shoe. However, this very versatile shoe is your shoe that you can throw in your bag if you're going away for the weekend, and it can pretty much handle everything that you throw at it. Right, so just wrapping it up now, these two shoes are certainly in the same category, so certainly they need to be matched at the same price point, just as they are in the US. So remember what you're going to get with the Mach. It's certainly very soft, but you're going to get a good amount of bounce, a bit of energy return, a bit of liveliness in the shoe. It's going to feel more like, it's got more like daily trainer vibes, this shoe, whereas the Rebel is going to feel really light on the foot. It's a slightly softer shoe, but it's going to feel a lot more natural on the foot, so it doesn't feel like you're actually wearing too much of a shoe. So really, really nimble shoe. But again, both great shoes. So if I just had to pick one shoe and I had to pay the Australian recommended retail price, well, I'm going to go the Rebel, because I don't think that the Hoka is worth $40 more than the Rebel. I can do everything I can in this shoe than I can with that shoe. However, if these two shoes are at the same price point like they are in the US, then I think I'm going to go the Mach, because I enjoy the ride more in the Mach. So I think this foam is slightly better than this fuel cell. So it's more lively, as I said. It's got more bounce. It's got more pop. It's definitely more enjoyable for me anyway. And I think this one is certainly the better long run shoe, and I'm probably going to get more use out of this one. But anyway, guys, that's it from me. I hope you liked that shoe comparison review. If you've got any questions or anything that you'd like to add, please just drop that in the comments below. I really love to read those. And anyway, guys, that is definitely it from me. Again, thank you for watching. Make sure you give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys next time.